The Adventures of Superman is a television program that ran for 6 seasons from 1952 to 1958. George Reeves would star as Clark Kent and Superman, along with Jack Larson as Jimmy Olsen, John Hamilton as Perry White, and Robert Shane as Inspector Henderson. Phyllis Coates would star as Lois Lane in the first season of Adventures of Superman, but by the second season in 1953, Noelle Neal had taken over as Lois Lane.
Here we go!
Phyllis Coates would go on to play Lois Lane's mother in Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman.
Mr. Lane!
No, it's not. You do what your heart tells you to do.
In the Season 4 episode of The Adventures of Superman, titled The Wedding of Superman, Lois dreams that she and Superman have been married. In the comic books, the alternate Superman and Lois Lane of Earth 2 would be wed in Action Comics 484 in 1978, and finally, in 1996, Superman and Lois were officially married in Superman the Wedding album, which also coincided with the wedding on the Lois and Clark television series. Jack Larson would also appear on Lois and Clark, again playing Jimmy Olsen, who has succumbed to a rapid aging process, as well as having a featured cameo in Superman Returns.
Not such a kid anymore, huh, Chief?
The first season episode of The Adventures of Superman, titled The Monkey Mystery, focuses on an organ grinder's trained monkey named Peppy, who happens to be dressed just like Superman. Seeing a monkey in Superman's costume, I can't help but think of Beppo the Super Monkey, who first appears in Superboy 76 in 1959. In Beware the Wrecker, from Season 2, the villain's MO is to send toy planes out to blow up different targets and then ransom the company's owners, which is very reminiscent of the Superman villain, the Toyman. Also, in another second season episode, Panic in the Sky, this would feature Superman tackling an asteroid set to collide with the Earth that would result in an amnesiac Man of Steel. The title, Panic in the Sky, would be reused in a multi-part crossover where Superman would lead a team of heroes against a Brainiac-run war world. Also, the Lois and Clark episode, titled All Shook Up, is pretty much a remake of this classic Adventures of Superman episode.
Several hours ago, Superman said his final goodbyes to the crowd. He was described as calm but determined. I'm being told that we have a live transmission from Superman.
I can see it now. In fact, it's hard to see anything else. It's a mess.
Roger, Superman. We can copy you on the ground. Do you have stress point acquisition in vision?
Yes, I do.
Stand by for the final radio
Inspector William Henderson first appeared as Superman's contact on the Metropolis Police Force in the Adventures of Superman radio series. Yet another transplant from the radio series, Bill Henderson, would be introduced on the television series as well. Nearly 22 years later, Inspector Henderson would be introduced in Action Comics 440, also serving as Superman's main police contacts in the comic books. You may also remember Robert Shane from the Flash television series, where he had a reoccurring role as Reggie, the blind newspaper vendor.
Call the police. Thanks.
Anytime, Barry.
Yeah, Reg. Take care now.
Inspector Henderson's character in the comics would take a hard line against vigilantes as reflected in issues of Black Lightning, and gain some additional backstory in the Superboy comics as Detective Sergeant Henderson, who visits Smallville hoping to convince a young Superboy to relocate to Metropolis. Post-Crisis, with the Man of Steel reboot, Henderson was reintroduced to readers with Wolfman and Ordway's Adventures of Superman comic series, which continued the numbering from where the first volume of Superman left off. By Action Comics 700, Henderson had been promoted to Commissioner of the Metropolis Police Department. Besides Inspector Henderson, you can see the influence of the television series reflected in the Adventures of Superman comics introduction of Professor Hamilton in issue 424. Hamilton is very much like the various absent-minded professors that were featured on the Adventures of Superman television series. There was Professor Periwinkle, who was played by Phillips Teed, Uncle Oscar, who was played by Sterling Holloway, who on a close listen may remind you of a certain Disney TV bear.
Oh, yes. Mr. Kent, now I don't want to alarm you, but I'm afraid that I have spent so much time on the process of getting us here that I have neglected the reverse process.
Oh, that's all right, Professor.
And Professor Lucerne, who was played by Everett Glass, who was more of a mentor figure to Superman than an absent-minded professor.
Do you remember a discussion we once had about molecular density?
Oh, yes. All matter is composed of molecules, and all molecules are composed of atoms.
Correct.
In the Season 6 episode, The Gentle Monster, Professor Periwinkle creates a robot named McTavish who is powered by kryptonite. Of course, one can't help but be reminded of one of Superman's arch-rivals, Metallo, when watching a kryptonite-powered robot. Also from the 6th season, Divide and Conquer, this episode shows that after conferring with Professor Lucerne, Superman is forced to split his molecules into two separate beings, much like the classic and modern versions of the Superman Red and Superman Blue comic storylines. Back to Inspector Henderson, the character has made a variety of appearances by several different actors in Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman.
You've tried it before.
First, the role was played by Mel Winkler, who would reprise that role in Superman the Animated
She
Series.
must have been delirious when our boys found her. Said something about being attacked by a purple monster.
Was its name Barney?
Winkler was followed by Brent Jennings, and the role of Henderson eventually went to Richard Belzer for the remaining episodes of the show's first season.
There's a warrant for your arrest for arson and other crimes too numerous to mention.
You're out of your minds, both of you.
You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be...
More recently, Bill Henderson would appear in Black Lightning Year 1, and Supergirl would introduce an Inspector Mike Henderson, the new head of the Metropolis Metacrimes Division. Another note of interest is the film Hollywoodland, which features Ben Affleck as Superman star George Reeves before his untimely death. I have to say that watching this movie after viewing the entire run of The Adventures of Superman, while I found it interesting, was also a little depressing. So if you make the choice to watch Hollywoodland, I heartily recommend saving the I Love Lucy episode, Lucy and Superman, to watch afterwards to put a smile back on your face.
Can you teach me to fly?
Of all the crazy things that you've done in the 15 years that we've been married, this has really...
Cargill, you mean to say that you've been married to her for 15 years?
Yeah, 15 years!
Then they call me Superman.
Now we come to the Daily Planet editor-in-chief, Perry White.
Caesar's ghost! Wait. Great Caesar's ghost! Great Caesar's ghost! Are you going to wear that outfit into the jungle? Of all the ridiculous things. That's what I think of voodoo. Great Caesar's ghost. Great Caesar's ghost. Great Caesar's ghost! Great Caesar's ghost!
Great Caesar's ghost.
Great Caesar's ghost. Great Caesar's ghost! What sort of metal? Great Caesar's ghost. 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 What time do people come to work around here? Great Caesar's ghost. Great Caesar's ghost. Great Caesar's ghost.
In the Season 3 episode, Great Caesar's Ghost, Perry finally actually comes face to face with Great Caesar himself.
Great Caesar's... Yes, I am Great Caesar's ghost. Great Caesar's ghost?
In conclusion, after viewing all 6 seasons, I have to say that John Hamilton is really the definitive Perry White, in my opinion. There's no question in my mind who Phil Hartman based this excellent caricature off of in this sketch for the death of Superman.
Great Caesar's ghost. For the first time in 30 years, I find myself at a loss for words. Great Caesar's ghost! What can I say about Superman? He only called me Chief once. I told him, don't call me Chief, and he never did it again. Great Caesar's ghost! I can't believe he's gone.
The Adventures of Superman is one of those great classic television series which all generations can appreciate and enjoy.
Yes, sir.